Hello, my name is Alex Dyer. I'm the Canon Ordinary for the Episcopal Church in Colorado, and I'm here with Michael Boney, who is the, I think it's right, Director of Music. Is that your official title at our cathedral?
Correct. Yes.
Michael, thank you for being here today. I wanted to talk a little to you. I know you're coming fresh off a webinar with you and a lot of your colleagues related to singing and COVID. And from what I understand, it was not necessarily the best of news and the news you were looking for. And there's been a couple of articles that I've read about this and kind of keeping up to date about it. But given all what we know about COVID now, what is the future of singing in the Episcopal and congregations as we possibly over the next 12 to 18 months move back to in-person gatherings? What role is singing going to take place?
Well, I think singing can still be a part of our liturgies, but definitely in a reduced manner,
Mhm.
not unlike what we've already been doing for Holy Week and Easter. We just found out through the webinar that singing, because of the forcefulness of the air and water droplets and those things, it's just not the best practice to get a large group of folks together to sing because of how the virus works and how the voice works. And that includes that singing and talking. It was just interesting to all of us that we are producing water droplets even when we are just at rest, breathing normally.
Mm.
And that's greatly increased once you start to elevate the voice and use more air to project.
So when you say large groups, is that what does that mean? Does that mean 20, 30, 40 people, or what does a large group look like?
You know, most people are saying four or less
Hmm.
would be ideal, and that is including um, safe distancing and making sure that once we aren't singing, we definitely have masks. But one of the challenges is it's difficult to sing without the sound being muffled and words not being audible
Hmm.
when you have a mask on.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's just increasingly difficult to have any decent sized group as we would know it um, to actually do choral anthems and hymns and things like that. And imagine what that would be like
Yeah.
for a congregation of 50 people.
Yeah.
Now we've all missed singing, but now we have 50 people in a room, and they're all singing robustly and
As Episcopalians
creating
do, we
more.
sing robustly. So yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it's just becoming difficult until we get more information about how this works.
So what's your plan? What are your plans to your colleagues? I think kind of going forward in the sense of as we move kind of into from season one into season two, realizing that over season two things will probably change. But kind of in this first transition, given the information you've heard about safety and everything, what are you thinking?
I think I think slow and steady um, will kind of win the race with this. I don't think we want to immediately bring in large groups of people, even 12 people together to do any type of singing.
Mm.
I think we are going to, once we get to the phase that we can actually begin incorporating a few more people, I think staying on the smaller side of that is
Mhm.
going to be crucial. And then just inching that up incrementally and just see how it works. One of the things that was discovered with the doctors is that it's thinking about doing music outside
Mhm.
is a little bit better because of a lot of factors, UV rays, and then just not being in such close quarters. But the challenge is wind direction makes,
Mm,
you know, a big difference. So, and those are natural things. You're outside, so you can't
mhm,
control the direction of the wind. So I think starting small and one, two, three, maybe four people. I honestly don't see us having more than four people singing at any given time in the near future.
yeah. And that
Um,
could be a long while, unfortunately. And I know it's
yeah,
tough for people to hear, as one person once reminded me that no one goes away humming the sermon. I think music is a part of who we are. It's probably missed from my conversation with people just as much as the Eucharist or something like that too. Just as part of as we gather, it's just such an important part. I know you get a good old hymn out for me and singing with a couple hundred people. I mean, just gets my heart going. I just absolutely
sure.
love it and soar to all kinds of new places. So I think it's going to be hard for people to come to realize. Um, so where do we go from here as far as there are other ways like how does technology play into this?
Well, one of the things that we are incorporating in our liturgies at the cathedral, we are adding a hymn
Mhm.
to the service with one person singing the soprano line, but we're putting the music and the text in our online leaflet so
Mhm.
that congregations can follow along. What I've discovered over the last 2 months, watching other colleagues in their churches doing services, it's not as fulfilling just having a pianist or instrumentalist, organist, whatever, just play the hymn
Mm,
and expect the congregation to sing
mhm.
um, at home. But it's been much better when we've had one person with
Yep.
accompaniment singing the melody line, and then people feel a lot more connected
Yep.
when we have that. So that's one of the things that we are doing here at the cathedral, just to add a little bit more hymns and singing music for people to enjoy at home rather than just listen.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's in smaller churches, the director of music singing along, and that kind of stuff too to help lead that along. And we all both know that that's not the same thing as what we're accustomed to, but I think what we're called to do in this time, which
The
is
other, the other thing that I think could be helpful, and I've done this a time or two over the last couple of months, I will take a hymn and look up the history of that hymn
mm,
and share that in an online forum,
mhm,
e-blast or whatever. And then maybe on a Sunday morning, just play the hymn, one verse of the hymn on the
mm,
piano or the organ, and have that write up about the history of the hymn.
mhm,
And you look closely, a lot of the text will speak to what we're dealing with now.
mhm,
And a couple of times I've done that here, people said that was extremely comforting.
mm.
We sing these hymns all the time, but we didn't know the full story
Yep.
behind the hymns. So I think musicians are going to have to get creative and not so much behind an instrument or with an instrument, but
Mhm,
also communicating via words
mm.
about these hymns and the text so that we know a little bit more about them.
Yeah, and I think that's a challenge, I'm working with as far as people yearning to get back to the familiar style of worship. And I think what we are coming to realization is that our worship is going to change in many ways. So even if we, or when we get back into our buildings and in-person worship, it's going to be a very long time before we're able to return to something that is familiar, at least the way things look today.
Right.
It's going to be a while. So yeah.
During the webinar, I mean, after all of the information that we got, and it was information that made us sad. But
Mhm.
the one thing the doctor said, we will sing again.
Yep.
So just keeping that in mind gives us a glimmer of hope. this won't last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a moment in time, and there's something that God's teaching us and wants us to get. And I think there are a variety of things that we are
Mm-hmm.
going to glean from this. It's going to shape the way we go forward with doing things, but I don't think it's going to eradicate the way we have done it in place of something brand new.
Yeah.
But it's going to open us up to be more receptive and more flexible in ways in which we communicate
Mm-hmm.
with our parishioners. Technology is wonderful. I know lots of people don't want to be on Zoom and other platforms. And I think it's interesting, a lot of people only chime in for small snippets,
Mm-hmm.
and then they come back over a few days and add on to that so they can do it at their leisure. And some people even watch these videos many times over.
Yep.
So I think what we're doing now with Zoom and other platforms, I think it's going to stick around. And many of us who didn't want to do it or didn't think about doing it or think that it was important are now seeing it is important. And I don't think we can go back to not doing um,
Yeah, I
this.
was talking to a fellow colleague, and she was commenting out. She's fairly new to our congregation about how one of her parishioners was saying how she can really see her face now more as opposed to like being in the pews. Or whatever. I suspect that would be or could be true for singing as well too. You know, you can get the emotional thing, get kind of a closer view because all good Episcopalians sit in the back pew anyway. You know, so be closer up. So there's all kinds of new ways and because this priest is new, the parishioner was wondering what it's going to be like, you know, when they return. And she's become so accustomed to seeing her face and the expressions and everything a part of what it's going to look like. So I think, yeah, there may be, as strange as it sounds, some things we miss about this virtual thing that we're doing.
Sure,
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
So anyway, well, you know, I thank you for that. Again, we're constantly learning about this virus and how it operates. I know I was telling you kind of before we jumped on this call, even the fact that I know it can linger as long as even 10 minutes afterwards and go 27 feet and all that's unfortunately very disconcerting as we learn more and more about these things. I'm going to hold you to the fact that we will sing again. And then I think when we do, it will be that much more glorious.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. And I will look forward to that. And I appreciate all the work that the diocesan staff, the bishop staff is doing during this difficult time. And there are a lot of difficult decisions that need to be made. But I really do appreciate the prayerful and thoughtful theological approach because this is so new for us. We don't have the answers. We are all writing the playbook as we go. And so it just takes a lot of prayer and a lot of patience.
yep, I agree. A lot of grace and a lot of space to kind of figure things out
Right.
together. And thank you for, you know, your creativity. And along with that, I think, you know, priests are realizing what it's like to be, you know, a priest without the sacraments pretty much. And I think, you know, now we're asking musicians to enter into that space as well and to be creative and be imaginative around things. So I'm excited to see what you and your colleagues are going to come up with in the
For
future.
sure.
So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.